Teresa, can I invite you forward to talk to us tonight? We are pleased to have you here. I'm excited. I enjoy talking to you because it reminds me so much of my time when I got to live in South Africa, and I miss it tremendously, and your accent brings me right back.
Jesse, I must admit there are very few Americans that know where Polokwane is.
Yes. Polokwane was a wonderful, wonderful place. Teresa is, of course, South African. She founded one of the first post-apartheid multiracial law firms in South Africa. She was a practicing attorney there for many, many years. She served occasionally as the acting judge in the High Court of South Africa before we stole her away from their Supreme Court to direct Advocates International. Can you tell us a little bit about Advocates International? Because I think what I just said is probably what many people know about it, that it speaks up for Christian rights and helps Christians in dire legal situations, but it's more than that. So I'd love to hear from you a little bit about what they do.
Advocates International's history is really so closely connected to Immanuel and the little white building that I think you use as Hope Ministries was actually Advocates International's very first office. And what had happened is Sam Erickson was the executive director of the Christian Legal Society, the American Christian Legal Fellowship. And then in the late 80s, when the wall came down and countries came out of communism, he recognized the opportunity to get involved in those countries and even to help write constitutions of those countries to secure religious freedom. So of all places, the first place Sam Erickson worked internationally was in Russia. And I think his heart would break if he would see the lack of religious freedom today. But either way, Sam started gathering over the next few years from 1992 onwards every Christian lawyer that he knew in the world. And in 1998, he managed to find 10 of them in Chicago. And the year after that, that was my very first introduction to Advocates International, he managed to gather 37 of them. And whenever I'm here in IBC, I remember how emotional I was. We had in those days flag parades, and every country would walk with their flag. And you must remember we came out of apartheid, and for the first time we had democracy and we had peace. And we had a brand new South African flag. And I carried that flag in the flag parade in October of 1999. But either way, since then, Advocates International has become a network in 142 countries globally. In some countries, like in Libya, we've got one Christian lawyer. In Nigeria, CLASFON, the Christian Lawyers Association of Nigeria, has 12,000 members. So, and what we do is, depending on the challenges in a particular country, we work in 6 main focus areas. Sanctity of life, family and community, justice for the poor, religious liberty, and integrity and the rule of law. Now, at the moment, Jesse, where our lawyers are really in the trenches, are in the countries where there's violent religious persecution. Now, I was just thinking just now, as you were reading from Deuteronomy, I thought it was so apt that you were reading the law and speaking of Jesus as a mediator. Sam Erickson used to say how important the vocation of an advocate is. For the first 30 years of Jesus' life, he was a carpenter. And then for 3 years, he was a teacher. And since then, he's been an advocate. So, you know, and Sam used to say, you know, his life verse was Micah 6 verse 8. What does the Lord require of you? To do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with God. And whenever I speak, I say the last one, walking humbly with God, must be the hardest thing for a lawyer to possibly do.
Well, is there ever, so Advocates International makes headway in countries. Countries will adopt laws and constitutions that seem to protect religious freedom.
Yeah.
And then is the job done there? Because it seems like darkness keeps growing.
Yeah. Absolutely, Jesse. We're seeing, I was just sharing a bit in the classes this morning, in Africa, Christianity is growing faster than anywhere in the world. And there are more Christians in Africa now than in any continent in the world. And of course, the enemy is not happy with that. So the counter side of that is persecution is on the rise. And persecution in Africa, in countries like Nigeria, the DRC, is violent. It's very, very violent. It's not as subtle as it might be in other countries. And I didn't have a single class ever in law school about how to defend the persecuted. So we are having to learn on the run. And one of our main objectives at the moment is to find the next generation, to find those who are passionate, who are prepared to give their lives. Like Sam Erickson changed my thinking in 10 days in October of 1999. For me to realize I cannot be a lawyer without integrating my faith with my profession. So across the world, we are specifically identifying young people and training them. And it's not easy because sometimes we need training material in Arabic, and because you have to hit the ground running. And then you also have to realize if you're a lawyer in the northern part of Nigeria, your client is not a paying one. They are being persecuted. Yeah. They are not going to be able to even pay their own disbursements, their own copies. So it really becomes a complete case of pouring yourself out like a drink offering. And I'm so grateful to say that there are thousands of such Christian lawyers across the world. Now something just interesting, as I was thinking about 1999. In 1998, Mike Chibita from Uganda was one of the first 10 lawyers that Sam invited to Chicago. Today, on the Supreme Court bench of Uganda, 7 of the 11 judges are Christian lawyers that came through the Ugandan Christian Lawyers Fellowship, in which Sam Erickson had a hand. And pray with us. The position of the Chief Justice goes vacant in December, and we're trusting God that one of those first 10, Mike Chibita, will become the next Chief Justice of Uganda, as Justice Georgina Woods, also from the Ghana Christian Lawyers Fellowship, became the first female Chief Justice of Ghana.
Wow. Can you tell us, that's amazing, by the way. Can you tell us some of the areas, I'm thinking of Africa, I know there's so much persecution right now. You guys have been involved in Eritrea, I know, with some people that have been in prison there. What are some ways that you guys can advance the cause for religious freedom, especially in Africa?
Yeah. So you're mentioning Eritrea at the moment. We are looking at ways, and this seems an impossible task. There are 6 pastors in Eritrea that have been in prison for 21 years for their faith. A prison in Eritrea is a shipping container in the sun. Those men have been there for 21 years. So we have to use every possible, we don't have Christian lawyers in Eritrea, so we're having to rely on our Christian lawyers in the area. We're looking at diplomatic ways. So those are really the tough ones. In Nigeria, I will just perhaps tell 1 or 2 stories. My Nigerian daughter, Abishak Sambo, works and lives in the northern part of Nigeria. And her calling is to rescue young Christian girls who have been abducted and forced into marriage by Islam. And people don't always realize how it works. they identify a girl from a very poor Christian family, then abduct her, immediately under Sharia law, appoint surrogate parents for her. Those parents then have the right to agree to her marriage. They then agree to her marriage, and then once that has happened, they go to court and bring a case against her biological parents for trying to prevent her from following her new faith. So all of this is, there's not time. So Abhishek, single practitioner, female mom, fearlessly goes out to those villages, confronts the village chief, confronts the imam, and tells them, I'm coming for you. I am going to remove that girl. Sometimes she's successful, sometimes she's not. In these recent times, there have been really, really scary times. The Muslims have come for her. She fled, got injured in fleeing, and there were wonderful Muslim neighbors who sheltered her. Unfortunately, she was in a terrible car accident about 6 weeks ago, severe injuries, and you can just imagine she's got no financial resources because she's just been pouring all of her resources into that. So Sani Akani, at the moment, running about 42 cases defending the persecuted in Nigeria. He often says to me, Teresa, not only do I act pro bono without charging fees, we have to, out of our own pockets, travel to where the court cases are. We have to get accommodation. Sometimes we have to pay out of our own pockets for transcriptions. So I think in our comfort and our convenience that we have, we often just forget that there are really, really people on the front lines of persecution that have committed a life to that. And obviously, we need financial support, but we need your prayers tenfold more. You have got no idea. My job is to inspire and mobilize. I travel for at least half of the year to all these places, and you've got no idea what it means to somebody if I say to them, last Sunday in Immanuel Bible Church, we prayed for you. You should see the people's faces. If they know that out there somewhere, there are Christians, brothers and sisters, that are praying for them and that appreciate that what they are doing is really hard.
Well, can you give us a couple ways? We'll do that now. We'll break into groups and pray for you and for your ministry. Can you give us a couple ways we can do that? Are there a few specific ways that we can pray for you and for Advocates International?
Yes. Jesse, I think if you could just pray for us that we can manage to extend our network into those countries where we don't have representation yet, because this network is our strength. If we, I very often, on a weekly basis, get contacted to ask, do you have a representative in Colombia? Do you have a representative here? So for us to just grow our network, specifically for us to raise up a new generation, a next generation, that has got an understanding of what it means to be a Christian lawyer and an advocate. And then please pray for those of us on the front lines. And Sam Erickson used to say that if you've got two beggars sitting on a pavement and the one holds a tin cup that says AIDS of orphans and the other one says Christian lawyers, you know who's going to get more money. But I want to explain to you that if you help us financially, you're not financing an administration. You're financing us to be able to go out there, be Barnabases, and encourage and mobilize, and get people to be able to persevere, to be able to carry on until God tells them it's enough, which doesn't easily happen.
Teresa, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thanks for being with us tonight.
It's been such a joy.